All right, so I decided I'm going to preach to you moms. There's some of you are probably familiar with Proverbs 31, the virtuous woman, the virtuous mom, and virtuous wife. So we're going to listen, and we're going to see how all of you stack up. No, I'm just kidding. And this is the interesting thing about the Bible, right? Is that you read something, and this is Proverbs, which a proverb is a wise saying. So what sometimes we get confused at is we look at something that we're reading and we're saying, okay, now I need to do this and live up to this, right? And I think that's a misunderstanding of what it is. What it is that, and as I'm going to read this, Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 30, it's about your heart. It's always about our heart. And when we have a heart that's been transformed by God, we have a desire to honor God. And so when the proverb, when it's talking about these things, and we'll comment here and there, but it's not a list of things that you should try to strive for. It's more about, these are some of the qualities, if you can look beyond just, because of course this was written thousands of years ago. Oh, okay. I thought that was mine for a second. Magic phone. So just remember, this isn't, well, anyway, I'm going to read it. And you'll either feel good about yourself or really bad. All right. Who can find a virtuous and capable wife and mother? I added the mother. She is more precious than rubies. Her husband can trust her, and she will greatly enrich his life. She brings him good and not harm all the days of her life. She finds wool and flax, and she busily spins it. She's like a merchant ship bringing her food from afar. She gets up before dawn, ladies, to prepare breakfast for her man. For her household. Sorry. For her household, and plan the day's work for her servant girls. And all your servant girls. Yeah. Evidently, you are the servant girl. All right. She goes to inspect the field and buys it. With her earnings, she plants a vineyard. She is energetic and strong and a hard worker. She makes sure her dealings are profitable. Her lamps burn late into the night. Her hands are busy spinning thread, her fingers twisting fiber. She extends a helping hand to a poor and opens her arms to the needy. She has no fear of winter for her household, for everyone has warm clothes. She makes her own bed sheets and dresses in fine linen and purple gowns. Her husband is well known in the city gates, where he sits and with other civic leaders. She makes belted linen. Bob, was that you? She makes belted linen garments and sashes and sells at to the merchants. She is clothed with strength and dignity, and she laughs without fear for the future. When she speaks, her words are wise, and she gives instructions with kindness. She carefully watches everything in her household and suffers nothing from laziness. Her children stand and bless her. Just a day of to the moms. Her husband praise her. There are many virtuous and capable women in the world, but you surpass them all. Charm is deceptive and beauty is vain. It does not last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she's done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise. Whew. Amen. That's just describing all of us, right? Yeah. Now, I even hesitated to read that this morning because I know that it sounds, and this is why some people say, this is why I don't read the Bible, okay? And it's easy to understand it that way, and it's not about that none of it's relevant in the 21st century or anything. It has to do with the base of what it's referring to. And it's really funny because it's at the very bottom, the very last couple of verses there, where the crux of it all comes in. It says, listen, charm is deceitful and beauty is vain. It doesn't last. I think about celebrities and things. And so some of, guys, some of the stars out there, you know, they get older and they get more character and they just get more handsome. And women, they get old and wrinkly. Now, it's not that they do, it's just that they feel that. And they feel all this pressure to somehow always try to look young. And then you see some of these people who have had a lot of work done, and it's like, what happened to you? You don't look like the same person. And it's like all that pressure to try to look good forever. It's not going to happen, right? It's like beauty is, first of all, in the eyes of the beholder, but then it's to try to keep up with all that is just silly. It doesn't pay any dividends. I mean, it's okay to look good when you can. It's okay to use, Mary Kay or something. It's okay to wear makeup, I suppose, if you want to. It's okay to wear moisturizer. It's okay to try to do whatever a person wants to do. That's obviously, there's nothing wrong with any of it. It's just that when you spend time doing it and becomes all consuming, it becomes a worthless endeavor. But a fear of the Lord will be greatly praised. So what we're going to talk about is motherhood as a divine calling. Now, not all of us are moms, obviously, but there's still this, and I think, and I don't want to belittle the fact that a mom has gone through, 9 months or so of carrying a child and then going through the birth process and then nursing that child. There's a love that comes with that. There's a special something that comes with when you, as a mom, as a baby. Now, I'm a dad, and I feel intensely, but there's no way that I can feel what Loida felt when she went through all those things. It's just impossible. And so I respect and I want to give credit and glory to all those moms who've gone through those things. And then there's moms who never went through that process, but they have children. There are those who are motherly and that they've never had their own children, but they've taken care of others, and there's a certain maternal nature that I think is a calling for many. And I think that when and I'm not a mom, so this is the weird thing about me talking to you guys about being a mom. I don't do it from personal experience. Maybe I should have Loida preach this one. I just want to say that growing up, my mom was great. I love my mom. My mom, as a child, I was telling my wife, I was like, as a kid, up until about junior high, Mom was like God. It's like everything she said was right. Everything she said was good. I always felt protected. I always felt that she, there was never a doubt in my mind that she loved me and my siblings, maybe my brother a little less. Just kidding. And so just growing up, and it was just like, and then, middle school and high school comes about, and then we get a little smarter as children. And then mom and dad doesn't know nearly as much. And then because we're exerting our own independence, which is natural and normal, right? But that safety, that love, that mama bear, that moms have, it's this dynamic that not everybody knows how to express well. Because we're all, in a sense, victims of our own upbringing. And this is again, part of the nature that we all endure as human beings is that, believe me, I've talked to a lot of different people who are parents. And they don't like their parents very well. Because their parents, and sometimes it was horrible, dealing with abuse, and those are just horrible, horrible things. And other times it's just that they, I don't know, they just didn't get along. And so there's that conflict, And then as you become a parent, it's like, I want to do whatever I can not to be like my mom or dad or whomever, right? And the problem is when that happens, we tend to actually reproduce the things that we didn't like about our parents. This is the weird thing about human nature, is that when we have resentment and bitterness towards somebody, it's amazing because, sometimes it's, the way we're wired. It's genetically passed on, And when we have bitterness and anger, it's so easy just to completely replicate that which we couldn't, which we hated about a particular parent or something. It's just a weird thing, right? And then it's like, oh my goodness, I sound like my mom, or I sound like my dad. And I couldn't stand it when my parents said that to me. Or I couldn't, because it's just the way it is. But when we are able to allow God into our life and transform us by his grace, that bitterness and anger starts to subside. And in place of it, there is love and forgiveness and understanding. Because that enables us to look at something that our parents may have done and say, I don't want to do that in my life. But I don't want to resent them either. I want to love them and forgive them. Somehow, even if they won't let me forgive them, I'm going to forgive them in my heart so that I don't suffer from all the baggage that can come with that. And I don't replicate that to my own children. There's this wonderful, and I think this whole thing with Proverbs 31 and all the description from, several thousand years ago, the bottom line is that if you're a parent, if you're a mom, and you love God, you're going to love that children. You're going to love your household. You're going to do what it takes to try to take care of and make sure that your family is safe. That's what we do. If we allow God to transform our life. There's examples of Jesus, for example. In Matthew, he's talking, Jesus says, "O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, how often I have wanted to gather you as children together as a hen protects her chicks beneath her wings." We have, some of us are moms or mother hens that want to protect and nurture. Some of us are mama bears, where if someone is threatening, you do not want to get in between a cub and mama, right? Have you ever, what was that? What's the name of that movie that Leo, The Revenant. Have you ever seen that? It's brutal. An unsuspecting guy, this is, back in the 1700s or so, gets in between a cub and a bear, and he gets mauled. And they show this he did actually a really good job pretending to be mauled, okay, because it was very convincing. But it's like, holy mackerel, that's what you don't want to happen, right? Because a mama bear is going to protect. Now, a hen doesn't have the teeth that a bear has. So she does her best to risk her life to protect those chicks. And maybe that's more your nature. Maybe you're not aggressive. That's probably okay. Some of us are a little more aggressive, and we're more like bears. And we show our teeth, and we're ready to attack. So it's just, the idea is, and the Bible talks about a mother and her cubs, and that's Hosea 3. It's 13, it says, "Like a bear robbed of her cubs, I will attack them and rip them open like a lioness, and I will devour them. A wild animal will tear them apart." All right? Some of us are more like that. This morning, I simply want to encourage moms, because as a mom or as someone who is motherly, there is great opportunity. And there is no such thing as a perfect parent. There is no such thing as doing it 100% right. God had 2 kids, Adam and Eve, and they really messed up bad. No one could go to God and say, God, if you maybe had just done, like not had the tree right in the middle of the garden, if you didn't have lights showing the tree. Anyway, there was no lights, I don't think. But the idea being is that if God had wayward children, we're going to have wayward children. It's inevitable that some of our kids are going to give us grief and those kind of things. It's like if you start to take all of that on to yourself, God's like, that's a sin. Do not do that. You continue to love and speak truth in love. You continue, as they're, obviously when they're young, parents are like, moms and dads are like gods, right? Until they start to get a little older. And then you have to allow them a little bit of leeway. And they're going to make poor choices, and they're going to have consequences of those choices. And some of them don't learn right away. And they go off and they do really dumb things. And then others are just like, you just got to look at them with a firm face. And they're like, I'm sorry. They start crying. It's like, wow. But others are just like, man, and they run away. It's like, I'm going to get you, kid. And you're chasing them around the house. It's just, everyone's wired differently. But as a parent, we got to continue to be faithful to our families. We have to simply trust God and say, God, please, please, please. Because I'll tell you what, if there's anything that will put us on our knees to God, it's our children. It really is. And God's like, I just want you to keep me number one. And as you have opportunity to love and to challenge and to encourage and to discipline and to speak words of wisdom and to get angry and say things you shouldn't have said and to apologize for those things and all of that, just be humble and love. And for you moms out there, I hope today you get a good foot rub. You get maybe if you're stressed out, a scalp rub. Someone will give you a special something. If not, I'll give you an extra rose if you let me know later. No one did anything. All right, here's another rose. You deserve it. All right, let's pray.